Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana. So before you and I were talking, you were mentioning that you bought a great investment property. Good for you. And you promised, and I want you to say it out loud on the podcast, you're never going to sell those because you always sell things instead of hold them.
That's high level and kind of accountability in front of hundreds of thousands of listeners.
Yeah. So now you can't sell them.
I know we're not going to sell them. We are going to hold on to them. Adam's usually the good one. I'm the one that's like, no, let's sell them and go do something else.
Yeah. Well, the cash flow is nice, but just so you have freedom someday, it's good to have all that cash flow coming in.
Absolutely.
So today we're going to talk about health. It's funny. You sent over those questions that you had heard on a podcast about influence, which we're going to talk on another episode on. But it's so funny because one of the things that it asks is, what do you spend your time
researching? I knew you were going to say that.
It's so funny because besides like freedom things and financial freedom and wealth and building your business and marketing and all those things, besides that, health is the thing I probably spend a ton of my off time on.
Yeah.
Researching and podcasts. So hopefully today, between you and I, because I know you do a lot of it too, we can give a lot of people a lot of shortcuts that will help them, because it can get super expensive and very time consuming to figure out if what should I be doing for health if you're super healthy already still, or you think you are. I heard something really interesting today on a podcast, and it said everybody's headed towards something. They just don't know what they're headed towards, right? And so I thought that's a really good thing to think about, is looking at you, who you are, and kind of your genetics, and then figure out what you're headed for. And then there is kind of a blueprint or a plan of what you should be doing based on that. So let's kick it off like that. So one of the first things, because I've spent so much money and time on this. So depending on what people's issues are, the big issues are if your blood sugar your insulin level is high. So I think over 5, people will tell you like over 7 or above is higher. That's not really true. If you really want to biohack and be the best you can be, probably 5 or less is going to be better on your, I think it's your HC1A or HC, something like that.
Now when we wore those blood sugar things in our arms,
we're gonna be real technical here, real sciencey.
I know, I can't think of what it's called.
It's called a glucose monitor.
Yep, that was it. Yeah. So that really did help, because there were times that I thought, and we did that through what was the name of that? Zoe. Yep. And there were times where I thought in the past that I felt like I was having low blood sugar sometimes, but that was interesting because my sugar did stay steady really the whole entire time. There were a couple of times it would drop, but even when I was fasting, it never got like in the dangerous low part. Did yours?
Not really. Mine never really dipped that much. And it's interesting because, I think sometimes we can get so confused by so many different messages out there. Like I did Zoe, and it said I should eat this one way, like mostly plants and beans, and very little meat. And then but I could do shrimp and shrimp and fish and things like that. What's interesting is I started eating like that, still couldn't lose weight, still was super inflamed, bloated, all those kind of things that are your symptoms, right? Well, come to find out, until you get rid of inflammation, and almost everybody has inflammation because you can't eat processed foods and eat out all the time, and the environment and all the things we use, almost impossible to not be inflamed. And when you're inflamed, nothing you're going to do is going to work, right? So what I've learned from all of it is I've gone down several bunny traps when I've had SIBO or leaky gut or any of that stuff. Those are the things I think are going to become more and more prevalent with people. And I think the underlying secret ones that people don't really understand that add to it is mold and Lyme. They say some unbelievable number of people actually have Lyme. They just don't know it.
It's crazy. I feel like in the last 2 years, I have heard or know more people who have had Lyme disease than like ever before.
Well, I think it's because their testing is getting better, because it was kind of the disease that nobody thought, everybody that was saying stuff about it was hypochondriacs. So I've tried protocols that heal your gut and SIBO. I really feel like right now I'm on the perfect one. I've told you about it. This bee venom therapy. I know it's like nuts, but if you'll watch
I watched it.
The documentary Unwell.
Yeah.
And here's what's really interesting is I don't have a ton of outward symptoms. Like some of those people are like bedridden.
Yeah. Well,
like
they thought they had chronic illness. I mean, they were like in pain.
But the thing is I didn't have those kind of symptoms. I had a few of them, but mine was more fatigue way earlier in the day than it should have been. Yep. And it was not able to lose weight at all, no matter what I did. So there was a few things that were different than theirs. Like I wasn't, but here's the problem. You go untreated with all these, and that's the stage they get to.
Yep.
So with this one, I'll kind of tell you, because I put down the number one thing, if you want to take care of your health, is 80% is the food.
Yep.
Eating whole foods, getting rid of all the other stuff. And this is the hardest one.
That was my number one too, and that's what I've been doing this year, was no processed, like 80-20, as much as I can eat, 80 natural doing it. And I have a couple things I want to share on that too, but I do agree with you. I think that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah. I think so too. And I think, depending on if you're have high histamines, if you're bloated and your stomach's, your gut's messed up, you have to go fix that. And you don't fix it by starving it, which is what a lot of people tell you. You actually fix it by feeding it the good stuff. So with this program that I'm doing right now, she literally gives you the menu each week. I am buying stuff at the store. I'd never bought a parsnip. I didn't even know what a parsnip was. Do you know what that is?
No, a vegetable.
The good news is it tastes like a potato.
Oh,
kind of, if you use your imagination. So, but
what are you eating that? What are you eating that with?
That's your snack. So like breakfast is kind of a porridge made out of spaghetti squash. Well, here's what we put in the Instapot the other day: spaghetti squash, stuff I would never put in there, carrots, which I like carrots, and what are those? Beets. No, not beets. What's the radishes?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't normally eat a radish, but when you cook it, it changes everything. So that right there with a few other spices becomes your like breakfast stuff. I mean, and then you always eat a meat and you always eat a vegetable together, but she's very specific that they're low histamine, because with everybody in this group, we all have major gut issues. So
what are low histamine things?
Low histamine things are like squash, carrots, zucchini, broccoli.
A lot of that. Okay.
Like you can't, like the only fruit we can have right now is berries.
Yeah. No.
Oh, and the other thing that causes high histamine is meat. When you let meat set too long, like you really should either cook your meat immediately or freeze it immediately.
Oh.
And if you cook it and you're not going to eat whatever you're not going to eat, immediately freeze it, because the higher and the longer meat sets out, the higher histamines there are in them. So I would say, depending on where you are, if you were just pretty healthy and you want to stay that way, then just try to do whole foods. What would you say about the food part?
Same thing. So I've been following this girl called Amy Migdalia, Migdalia, and she's on Instagram. She's an NTP. Her husband is a football player in the NFL. She's worked with loads of bloggers who have millions of followers. I found her from a girl that I follow in Nashville. And her stuff has been really working very well for me, but she does say the number one thing is cut anything processed. Like she said, you have to get from like farm to fork, which I jokingly say equals $800 a week at Whole Foods. However, actually somebody this week said, well, at least later you won't be paying to treat diseases. Like it's like a trade-off, but so I have been doing a lot of that. She says there's very few people that should have an all plant-based diet, that we actually need more protein as much as you can get. So I've been doing, she says 3/4 of your body weight in grams of protein a day, which is hard, but I do those Ripple protein shakes in the morning. They're the only ones that don't taste like chalk to me, and they have 20. I've been doing those cottage cheese. Oh gosh, I'll have to go look in the fridge, but the little packs of, do you like cottage cheese?
Yeah.
The good, or what's it called? Good cure. Oh, that's going to drive me nuts. I gotta look really fast, but it's the brand of cottage cheese, but the little tiny ones have 20% or 19 grams of, good culture cottage cheese. These little things.
Yeah. Good culture.
Yeah, so I've been eating those. I have to put everything but the bagel in it though. She also says only berries are the only fruit. So like I load up on blueberries and stuff like that. But the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from her, Linda, is she says it's all about the ingredients. So when you're looking at stuff, she said, number one, if it's got more than like 7 or 8 ingredients, it's probably a no. If there's a word that you cannot pronounce on the ingredients, it's definitely a no. She said one of the worst things that we ingest, especially for gut and weight loss, are anything that are like gums. Like, have you seen that in ingredient? Like it's like XANAX gum and all those different gums. She says like, absolutely forget it. No way. And then I've been trying to drink 3 liters of water a day. I was hooked on those liquid IVs for like the last year. She says they're like the worst thing on the planet for you. She hates them. So she has me drinking everybody.
Which I love those.
Yeah.
LMNT, they're electrolytes. This girl has us doing electrolytes also. She also has us doing beef. So a lot of this stuff is parallel.
Yeah.
I mean, not beef, but proteins.
Yeah.
She also doesn't bleed.
She said on here, she recommends the ones, or she only approves the ones that are no flavor, but I have to have like one of these raspberry or whatever ones. But so I've been drinking one of those a day. She also said a ton of, which I'm terrible at this, but she said if you have like bloating or inflammation, the first thing to cut, because I don't drink like pop, like Coke or any, I mean, very rarely, maybe like 3 times a year will actually have a Coke, but I'm bad about drinking like LaCroix and Zevias and all that.
Yeah.
She said, cut every one of those. The only one that she approves are Ollie Pops, which are also like $4 a can. However, OLIPOP, the vintage cola one, Linda, literally tastes like Coke from McDonald's. I'm obsessed with it. I've been ordering them by like the cases, but they're probiotic. It's a probiotic. And so she highly recommends that one, but no other. So like I was drinking probably 3 Zevias or LaCroix a day, and she's cut every one of those, which I can tell they did bloat me. And I don't think I realized it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Tracking is another important thing, because I think you get so used to stuff that you don't realize, you don't stop and say, was I really bloated? Do I even know? But what does she say about gluten? Because the only difference in what you're saying and what this girl does approve Cure, CURE electrolytes and the flavored ones. So you might ask your girl about that.
Cure. Okay, I'll have to check on that one. She says she's not a fan of gluten. She says that like more percentage of people cannot have gluten than can have gluten, and a lot of times we just don't realize it.
Yeah, that's
the only bread that she approves is oh man, do you remember the Base Culture?
Base Culture.
It's in the freezer section. Yep. And Base Culture, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And you can get like cinnamon raisin, but that's the only bread that she approves. The only crackers or anything like that she approves are anything Simple Mills is the brand, which now I know I got to get up again because I got to show you this. Hold on. I will say though, hold on. I have a ton of their crackers and all that, but she says if you want to have something sweet, she will do these. But anything that's this Simple Mills brand, she says is okay. And then they're of course they're all gluten-free and they're almond flour. But the only other thing that she really approves and I have loved is the Siete brand. The Siete chips and the taco seasoning and the taco shells, their salsa, all that is all grain-free, gluten-free. So yeah, I think I can tell though, I mean, when we eat out or when I don't eat like that now, instantly I feel like I gained 5 pounds.
Yeah, the eating out is what's hard. Like Jimmy and I have been in San Diego this week, and literally we would have been to probably 3 or 4 restaurants by now. And literally we've had to spend several hours in the kitchen. And this is using an Instapot. She uses it quite a lot.
Yep.
And it's like, first of all, it's very time consuming. I'm going to go home and hire me somebody to do all this cooking.
Here's the Ollie Pops, by the way.
Okay. I've never seen those.
Yeah, they're cold. They're in the cold section of Whole Foods, like in the cold drink section.
Yeah.
They don't sell them like in packs unless you order them, but they're
What's in them? What's the ingredients?
Carbonated water. Oh, they have a lot of root. So chicory root, Jerusalem artichoke.
Oh,
root.
good.
Yeah, kudzu root, marshmallow root, slippery elm. I mean, it's all roots, pink Himalayan salt. They do have a little bit of green tea caffeine, which she says that this minimal amount is okay. And then they just have cinnamon extract, natural flavor. I mean, just natural stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, she says all the roots are good, whatever that means.
Yeah, well, like one of the things we put in a borscht, whatever borscht is what we cooked the other day. It looked like a stew to me, but we put at the end, you had to put like horseradish root.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
never bought a horseradish root. So you put that on top, and then coconut cream, 100% coconut cream, a dollop of that on top too. So our recipes are really good. It's just foods I'm not used to eating
Same.
all the time, right? You might eat them occasionally.
I've
So
gotten
that's,
to
I think
where
the hard part is just the eating out, because
too.
you do that more for social and
Yeah.
kind of fills your time.
Yeah. I've gotten to where if we go out, especially now, like on countdown to the wedding, I'm just trying to get like oysters in a salad, and that's it.
At least you have something to inspire you, like a wedding dress.
It's not working as well as I thought, though.
Okay, so besides anything else on that you'd add on food, my second one is about things you want to do long term for your heart that people don't think about. Most people think about exercise, they think about like doing HIIT or something like that. And the truth is, my cardiologist, which is also my longevity doctor, says that really what you should do is a very low heart rate, like for me, 105, 110, which is real hard to keep yourself at when you're running. But that for 30 to 45 minutes, at least 30, but some days you could do 45, even if he said occasionally if you could do an hour.
Yeah.
And I find that's what most people want to ignore, that and weights for longevity long-term.
Everybody says weights. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I need to measure my heart rate. I power walk because ever since I hurt my knee, I just cannot run. But I walk for 40 minutes. So I'm wondering, I need to pay attention to what my heart rate gets to while I'm doing that.
Yeah, look at your, if you've got a place locally where you can go and do what they called a VO2 max test, that's the best thing to do. And whatever that low base is where you want to stay most of the time. And then occasionally you could do a HIIT or whatever, but most of the time you want to stay low around that base number.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I think that you hear that all the time, actually around some people. I feel like everybody thinks that you have to, even Adam, we talk about this, like you have to like do the hits, like you have to get your heart rate. I mean, Adam gets his so high, he'll freaking see spots, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know if that's healthy depending on how you're.
Well, not long-term for good heart health. It's not, but it is for changing your, I think it's called changing your, like your top part of your heart rate that you can go to. So you only want to do that occasionally. And then what you should do more regularly is this long, steady for keeping your heart good. And that's his specialty. So that's why we work on that.
Yep.
And then, and I don't think it matters. Matter of fact, in this program, I just asked her yesterday, she would prefer I don't run, but she's thinking of running where you get cause she said the harder you exercise, the higher your histamines will get. And right now she's trying to lower everybody's histamines. So right now she'd prefer I didn't do that kind of stuff, just do weights and then maybe some Pilates type stuff.
Yep.
So,
Linda, I feel like somebody may ask this while they're listening. I don't know the answer, but what do they test to know what if your histamines are high?
Well, here's a good thing. This is what happened to me a couple years ago. I don't know that mine are super high, because what will normally happen is you'll either have like a rash, like they showed a girl yesterday that like she's a nurse and she would have to wear tops up because any stress or anything, she would be red.
Oh, I know people like that. Yeah.
Yeah. What they don't realize is that's histamines coming out.
Wow.
Your histamines are going crazy because you got problems with your mast cells, which is a whole other topic. But for me, what happened is I was itching on my arms, both of them. And this happened for me like 2 or 3 years in a row, and no one could tell me what was wrong, but there was no rash, no skin, anything. It's just, I thought I was going to die. They itched so bad.
I remember
that was my histamines being super high. So it'll normally come out that way. I don't know of any other ways, but apparently we have to get our histamines lower. Well, one, because we can't sting with bees if our histamines are too high. So that's That's the main reason she's lowering everybody's histamines.
Okay.
But some people in the group have super high problems with histamines. I don't think I necessarily do right now, but I got to get my gut right, because you also, if you don't heal your gut, you're not gonna cure Lyme or mold or anything else. You can't get rid of anything else.
I think I just recently started thinking about this. I think one of the reasons why my gut health has been off lately is because, you know how for the last several years I had that ear problem, and I probably took like 15 rounds of antibiotics.
Yeah. Did they ever consider that vertigo?
They didn't consider it vertigo, but I could get like bouts of vertigo when I was flying, because it was kind of messing me up internally or whatever, but it wasn't caused by vertigo. It was caused by a ruptured eardrum.
Okay. I was gonna say, because vertigo was one of the issues that's one of the symptoms that people start to have when they have mast cell problems, when they've got issues there.
Yep. Yeah. But they say that if you take antibiotics, I mean, even just a couple times a year, that can majorly affect your gut. Amy, that girl, she said that you need to be like on a super good probiotics. If you, I can't remember the brand that she recommended. I haven't bought them yet, but if you have had like several antibiotics over a period of time.
Yeah. And the third one I put that's pretty consistent with all the podcasters and people I listen to, and something I started doing a few years ago, is fasting. At least 12 hours between the last time you ate and the next time you eat in the mornings.
Yeah, I had that on my list too. And I used to go a lot longer. Remember, we were doing like 18. I mean, all those, but I ended up thinking that, I think for me, and I talked to 2 nutritionalists about this, I think for me, my body thought I was starving itself. And so it was holding on to the fat when I was eating. So I've just gone back to just 12 hours. Like if I stop at 7, then I don't eat or have protein or anything until 7:38 the next morning.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm not a huge breakfast person. She's making us eat breakfast. And one reason I'm wanting to eat breakfast now is because I'm hungry, or just eating these kind of foods. When it's time for the meal, I'm really pretty hungry. Matter of fact, they have you put in the little sidebar, little victories. And one of my little victories that I was going to put is that I didn't bite Jimmy's head off the other day when he was eating a nectarine next to me as I'm prepping my food while I'm starving to death, and I can't have a nectarine. I can't have anything but what's on this program. So I said my little victory was I didn't snap at Jimmy when he was chomping a nectarine in my ear.
So have you gotten to get the bee sting yet?
Not yet. You can't. You got to fix your gut. You got to fix your mold. You got to fix Lyme. Not Lyme. Lyme will be fixed by the bee venom. But did you tell your guy about this, by the way?
Yes,
Okay.
100%. Yes.
All
And
right.
he's already been looking into it.
So here's the trick with food. And I didn't realize this, but you want to not snack in the middle, because it doesn't give your body time to push everything out and get rid of it and digest it if you're constantly putting food in. So that's the whole trick with fasting too, is it gives your body a rest.
Yeah.
So eating breakfast, now I'm eating breakfast, but then I don't eat for another 4 or 5 hours for lunch. And then I do another 4 or 5 hours before I do dinner. And then I make sure there's 12 in between dinner and breakfast.
Yep. Yeah. I'm doing similar to that. I feel like I get hungry around like 3 or 4. So we've just been trying to eat dinner earlier. And then what the fourth thing I had on my list was like no food after 7. She says that is the biggest thing. And I've noticed on my rings, the rings that we wear, at night.
Aura ring.
Yeah, I've noticed on my Aura ring that if I eat after 7:30, my sleep is not good.
Yeah. And sleep is another, we're getting into our sleep study a little bit later in a few weeks. She's going to teach us how to get the best sleep we possibly can and understand the Aura ring better. But sleep is like super, super important. And I've noticed, because I've had this Aura ring for long, there's certain things I can do that will get me longer, deep sleep. And that's the whole trick with sleep, is how do you get longer, deep? So they say between your REM and your deep, they both should add up to about half of your whole sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mine's decent, but that's actually the 5th thing that I wrote down that I feel like has changed the most for me, as far as not the eating, like taking eating out. And that's the infrared sauna and that we have. Yeah. And I wrote down like the biggest reason I got it was to just get rid of toxins. But if I get in that, and Adam's is the same. I'm a much better sleeper than Adam. His sleep is not ever hardly good. And he's obsessed with that ring. I mean, he's obsessed, like it's
watching it.
Oh my gosh, it's like, yes, he's bad. But if I get in the infrared or a CYL bed before bed, my sleep is always like I'm always in the high 80s. I mean, on both.
What's a CYL bed?
So it is an infrared sauna. It's not a sauna. It's the one that you lay in and you pull it over you and you just drip sweat for 45 minutes. I mean, it's infrared, but I looked it up just because I knew we were doing this. And the main things are getting rid of toxins, detoxification, pain relief in people who have circulation problems. It does help with weight loss, any sort of recovery, people with low blood pressure. It says it's really good for skin rejuvenation, wound healing, and then of course, like stress reduction. But it's when I was having my knee problem and they ended up saying it's the whole root of it was inflammation under my kneecap and I just can't get rid of it. But he said that infrared saunas are probably one of the best things that you can do for inflammation.
You know if it's near infrared or far or what it is, you know, the specific, and say the name of it again, CL what?
Well, the places are called CYL. You can go to them. I just actually bought one for my house. But I don't know if it's near. Let me look that up. I'll have to look it up and tell you.
So I put sauna also, and I have a sunlightened sauna at my house, and then at Anna's house, I have a clear light because I heard several podcast people, and they either push one or the other. So I thought, well, I'll try both, one at Anna's house and one at my house since I divide my time. But I also put the Juve red light, the cold plunge.
Yeah.
And I did that brain scan and they recommended I go do at least 40 sessions in a hyperbaric chamber.
40. And wow.
That's a lot. Yeah. So I'll be starting that in the next week or so where I try the hyperbaric chamber. And I just heard Dr. Mercalo on a podcast, and he talked about the benefits of hyperbaric chamber. And that's what Nikki does. And they recommend most people that get cancer, they have them in the hyperbaric chambers.
I've always wanted to do those. Let's see. I'm trying to find this. It just says infrared sauna, infrared heat therapy. Like I have the extra thing that has the lights in it. And so you actually choose the light color, and the lights they say are good for different things. It's like light therapy. I don't know. I can't think of what that's called. So I need to see if what'd you say? What kind of heat or
in near or far?
Near or far. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to find that out though. Near or far.
I think, I don't know. I think Juve is more near infrared, like you don't get as hot. So if yours gets super hot, it might be far.
You're soaked. Like the towels are soaked.
Yeah.
Big time. But I love it. I mean, it feels good. I like it because your head is exposed.
Yeah.
Except for Heather and I were just cracking up. So one time, I have to tell you this funny story. One time all the girls from Richmond came to Charleston, and that's where I have it. In Kentucky, I just go to my friend's studio that has them, but they all wanted to get in it. And Tammy, she came down from the kitchen, and I mean, her face was like purple almost. It was so red, and she was just drenched sweat. And we were like, what is wrong with you? And she said, I have no clue how you guys stay in there for 45 minutes. Like I had to get out after like 20. And I'm like, well, why is and she's like, I don't know. I just can't stand that heat on my face. And I'm like, did you put your head in there? And she's like, oh, no. Yeah. So she had her head in the towel cover the whole time. I'm like, I'm not responsible for whatever that just did to your brain, but no, you're supposed to leave your head exposed.
Or having people sign disclaimers when they come and use that. That's awesome. Well, anything else that you had different than mine? I would also say if health is something that's important to you, start listening to podcasts.
Totally.
There's great podcasts. There's several, Find My Fitness is a good one. She's very technical, but she gets the best information. Melanie Avalon is a great one. Yeah. What's the guy that we shared a podcast recently with that you listen to?
Yeah, that's who I'm looking up, right? Dr. David Sinclair.
Yes, David Sinclair.
Yeah, he is great. He's probably one of the best ones. He was actually, you can go back, he has his own, but you can go back if anybody listens to, I know we have a lot of people that probably listen to the Ed Milet podcast too.
Yes.
He did an interview with Ed Milet that was probably 2 hours. It was like tons of information. I'm just found it. It was on February 1st of this year. of
Well,
20.
the best thing to do is listen to those because they've already done all the research. You don't have to do near as much research when you listen to them. And then if you're looking to fix something, go to a group that talks specifically about that topic because you're going to get the best information. That's kind of what I do.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree. Yep. I think all of that is really good. I think just being aware, I mean, everybody's going to be different and everything you listen to, I swear I laugh at this every time, but I've told you this before, but I just remember when my papa was alive and he would say, oh, none of them know what they're talking about. Every one of them says something different.
That's so true.
And it can be true. So I think you just have to like where my mind has been the last year is I'm just trying it and what works for me, like figuring out what works for me, because you can hear all this stuff, but you'll know if it's working for you, if it's not working for you. Like I knew instantly when I needed to stop fasting for 18 hours because I was gaining weight. And I'm like, why am I gaining weight when I'm doing all this intermittent fasting? So I think you have to try and see what works best for you.
Yeah, I agree. And working with my genetics doctor, I know, and we did an interview with him on our podcast early on. Everybody's unique. And so there cannot, if somebody thinks you should just buy a one size fit all plan, that can't be the right plan because everybody is unique. So you're going to have to do a little bit of due diligence, a little bit of work, figuring out, what works for you and what makes you feel the best. And if it's something, if you're just doing it pre getting anything wrong with you, then start listening to what are some of the things people are doing preventively. And then if there's something wrong with you, go specifically find podcasts that talk about those particular items so that you get specific people that have been down the path before.
Yep. Well,
Awesome.
I'm going to figure out how to go get in a hyperbaric chamber and you have to go find these Olipop drinks.
Definitely. As soon as I don't know when I'm going to get to ever do anything but what she tells me, but yes, I might sneak one. Don't tell nobody. It might be my sneak. Okay. So remember, if you have a question, a comment, an opportunity or challenge that you'd like to talk to Dana and I about, be sure and reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate and help Dana and I get those 500 5-star reviews. Helps us move up the list on the podcast to be listening to. And if you know of anyone that could benefit from these conversations, be sure and pass it along. And Dana, I guess I'll see you next week.
Yes, I will. I'm so excited. I'll see you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.